Did anyone else notice that some of us will need retraining and reconditioning workshops if we are going to regain the passivity, submissiveness, and general squishing of the soul that made air travel tolerable? When I landed at DIA on March 9th, 2020, I surrendered my role as a frequent flyer. After a year as an entirely terrestrial creature, I realized how poorly suited I was to the conduct required of denizens of the cultural and social habitats of the airport and the airplane. Plodding, slogging, and lumbering have never been my preferred practices when it comes to moving through space, but airports require exactly that form of locomotion. I fear I will never entirely transcend the misery inflicted by the times when the DIA security lines wrapped around to the baggage area. Enrollment and TSA Pre-check eased some of this misery, but there were occasions when even that privilege offered no relief from long, slow trudging. I am very fond of human beings, but that fondness is suspended when they are wrestling heavy bags into what are called overhead compartments, and when my head is the one involved. And yet empathy is a powerful force in life, and my misery sometimes escalated when the heads at risk belonged to people who were often oblivious to the peril taking place above them. And then, with boarding complete, it was time for me to get reacquainted with this fact. Sitting for hours in a confined space has never been my strong suit in life. Why did I keep returning to airports and airplanes? Like an effectively trained and conditioned animal, I knew that there was an intensely appealing reward that I would lose if I was anything but docile and compliant. If I kept myself properly subdued, in several hours I would get off the plane and subdued would disappear from the picture. I would be greeted at baggage claim by delightful people who would welcome me, ferry me to and from hotels and nice restaurants, and then take me to lecture halls and classrooms where I would have joyous experiences giving guest lectures and public speeches, with those performances always followed by a return to the nice restaurants. At some point, my host would be stern and merciless and deliver me back to the airport. But I now carried with me a new supply of memories of recent good times that I could contemplate as I moseyed along in the line and stayed in place through hours of sitting still. Alert readers will have noticed that I am dodging a historical question. Do I believe that air travel had become more trying, unpleasant, and uncomfortable in recent years? Even as I have heard many repetitions of that lament, I can't break the habit of placing the inconveniences of air travel in the broad framework of human suffering. Tedium in security lines and restlessness with enforced immobility, and even coping with delayed flights announced with very sketchy explanations and even sketchier predictions of anticipated takeoff times, that has never qualified for my "oh, poor me" category of human experience. Plus, there is an odd twist of historical timing. Airplane seats have unquestionably gotten smaller and more tightly packed. But this historically documented shrinkage coincided with another historically documented shrinkage, as my midlife conversion into an exercise nut created a noticeably smaller version of me, requiring a much more modest allocation of space. Thus, I do not think that by any serious measure of human misery, air travel became significantly more difficult to endure in the last decade or two. Airline executives must be very aware that in the last year, a sizable percentage of one-time frequent flyers have awakened to the mismatch between their intrinsic character traits and the concessions air travel requires. I can only assume that those executives are pursuing conversations with psychologists, neurologists, and other professionals in mental health, commissioning them to design and offer workshops that would restore people like me to the state of passivity and submissiveness that we had once cultivated and maintained. Should those workshops become available, we will still have a choice. We can sign up for the workshops and return to the airport, or we can refuse the retraining and reconditioning and stay grounded at home. I think I know which way I will go. Putting up with airplanes and airports has given me enormous holdings and treasured memories. Over and over, I landed in good company, treated to hours and hours of stimulating conversation and storytelling. So, where do I sign up for that workshop? If you also notice this or have any other reflections you'd like to share, we would love to hear from you. Please email us at patricia.limerick@centerwest.org.